Alright, I guess I'm going to go ahead and videotape this since I didn't see any other YouTube videos of anybody doing this. This is my daughter's 2003 Dodge Neon. And we bought it just a couple of weeks ago, and when I drove it home, it had a telltale clunking noise in the front end that I know from experience is the sway bar drag links, or what I call them. I don't really know what the official name for them is. But they are located behind the wheel, actually right on that A-frame. I've got the stock one had just some kind of a washer nut combination thing on top here where my finger is. It's not really a bolt, it's like a threaded washer. I just hooked onto that with a pair of channel locks. On the bottom, that is a 15mm bolt. So I sprayed this top piece. I sprayed the washer thing up here with penetrating oil. Let it sit for about 10 minutes, hooked my pipe wrench onto it, and backed it out from the bottom, and the thing walked right out of there pretty easy. The one thing I have learned, this is the 4th or 5th time I've had to do these sway bar things. One thing I've learned is if you get both wheels up off the ground, there's no sway on that bar, so that bar is just a bar. It'll hang, it'll just lay there like your first prom date. So it's really easy to change these things out. If you try and lift them up one wheel at a time, you get a lot of torque in that sway bar, and it'll pop loose the minute you get the nut loose, and then it's a pain to put back on. Now this one, the one that's on there, the stock one, had that washer thing and a metric on the end. The one I got for replacement from my Napa store has that's a 9/16 bolt, and the directions specifically say to put that in this direction so that the top of the bolt is up by the CV boot and the nut part is sticking out the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. This actually walked out of there pretty easy. I'm not even, well, heck, it took me longer to take the tires off the car than it took me to get that sway bar loose. I'll do that side and I'll do the other side, and we'll put this thing back on. I'll let you see what it looks like when it's put back together. Well, that was almost criminally simple, actually. Here's the two originals. That black spacer there represents the middle between, here's where it bolted onto the A-frame, and here's where it bolted onto the sway bar, and it had this little spacer. The new one is effectively the same, but it has these metal washers that go on top and bottom of the rubber pieces, and then just a little metal spacer. And this one is 9/16, but I'm not even 30 minutes into this process, and I got both of these off there. The sway bar's just hanging there waiting to have the new ones put on. That's the one thing I've noticed about these cars. This Neon, before we had this Neon, we had a PT Cruiser for my daughter. PT Cruiser, Neon, these are the easiest cars I've ever worked on in my entire life. They come apart exactly the way you'd expect them to come apart, and they don't fight you to come apart. So if you like working on cars yourself, these are the cars to have. And there you go. $25 worth of parts from Napa and 45 minutes of my time. A couple of new sway bar drag links, whatever you call them in particular. The only thing I learned, take both of them off so that this sway bar is hanging loose, and then put this one on, but just start the nut, because when you get to the other side, you're going to want that sway bar hanging down really far, or the bolt won't go in. It interferes with the boot of the CV joint up here. But if you just you start the nut on there a couple of threads so that it's just on there, then go over to the other side, you can start that one on too, and you can finish it and tighten that one up, and then I came back and tightened this one up. And that's all there is to it. It was pretty straightforward.